this video, I'll be showing you how to make 2 jump scares. These each use the same redstone, but they are very different in design. For the first design, we have 2 ravenous zombies that have been mutated by a mad scientist. Watch your fingers. And the second design is a poor, medieval skeletal zombie that has been kept prisoner for who even knows how long. Here are all of the materials that we will use throughout the build. Please do make sure that you have access to all of these. Begin your build by placing a black concrete on the ground, with a yellow concrete right of it, another black concrete, and then another yellow concrete. We then want to place 2 glass pane on top of the yellow concrete, with then another yellow concrete on top of the glass pane. Extend left by placing a black concrete, yellow, and then black concrete. This is going to be the frame for the window of the zombie chamber. Left and right of the frame, we want to place a cyan terracotta with 3 chisel quartz block on top. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. These are going to be walls. We have to extend these walls backwards by using black concrete. The reason that we're using black is because it will give the effect of a darkened room and enhance the jump scare. We want to place 1, 2, 3 black concretes extending backwards from each of the cyan terracottas, and then extend the black concretes upwards to equal the height of the front of the chamber. We can now seal up most of this window by using glass pane, but we do have to get in and out of the window, so leave a small gap. We have to also devise where we want our zombies to be. So my first zombie is going to be in the back left corner here, so I'm going to dig 2 rows down into the ground, and I'm going to place a soul sand. For the second zombie, we're going to leave a gap of 1 to the right and leave a gap of 1 going forwards, and then dig 2 rows down, place a soul sand. So we have to destroy behind the soul sand so that we gain access to it. And the idea is that we want to push the soul sand out into the position where the zombies will be whenever we need to activate them. So, leaving a gap of 1 behind the soul sand, we are going to place sticky pistons. They will reach out and grab the soul sand when we need it to. So then we can replace the rest of the floor of the chamber using block of iron, of course taking care not to disrupt any of the soul sand or the pistons. Then place water on top of each of the soul sands. You know that it's working correctly if it starts to bubble. Next, we are going to actually make some of the redstone. So, in front of the left side of this wall here, we just have to build up the wall a little bit more. So we're going to place a cyan terracotta extending forwards, a block of iron on top, and then a couple of chiseled quartz blocks on top of the iron. This is where we are actually going to place the lever, which will activate the zombies. So we have to come behind the lever here and place a cyan terracotta just behind the cyan terracotta underneath the lever. We then want to place a redstone dust extending outwards, down, and around to the back of the chamber. We have to excavate a couple of rows behind the chamber like this to allow us access to each of the pistons, which the redstone dust will simply just run along to the backs of. You should find that if we place the dust in this way and then we activate the lever, then you will notice that the soul sand will get pushed into the water and it will bubble. Although they were like that already, so if we actually release the lever, you'll notice that the soul sand has been pulled away because they were already in position. That's how we placed them. So let's turn this off again and work our way back round to the outer part of the chamber. So what we now have to do is extend up some redstone on top of the chamber now. So we're going to extend the cyan terracotta one row out further, and we are going to start extending it up and back so that we are able to connect it to the top of the chamber like this. So we just want to run the redstone dust up this cyan terracotta stairs onto the corner here. The top of the chamber can be made out of any material you like. I would recommend black concrete. We also have to choose a position for a flickering light. My personal choice is going to be right at the front of the chamber, just above where the most forward zombie is, so right here behind the black concrete. We now have to make what is effectively a redstone clock. So this is a redstone comparator placed this way. Activate the comparator, redstone repeater in front of it, then a redstone repeater placed next to this facing the opposite way, join it together using redstone dust on the ends of each of the repeaters like this, and that is a fully completed clock. However, what we have to do is run the dust outwards and on top of the redstone lamp. We activate the lever and we have a flickering light, and we also have the bubbling water. Excellent work once again. Let's make some zombies. So, zombies are made, first of all, in a crafting table. Didn't you guys know that? All of the mobs are made in a crafting table. So let's throw this down, open it up, and first of all, we're going to throw a leather tunic in with some cyan dye. Grab that, put that back in the inventory. Leather pants with blue dye, grab that, put that in the inventory. Leather boots with some grey dye, grab that, put that in the inventory. That's perfect. So, what we then want to do is drop some armor stands into the water with zombie heads, leather tunics, leather pants, and leather boots on each one of the armor stands. Of course, you can vary this, put some gold armor on it if you want, make it look all fancy, it's up to you. I'm going with the good old classic zombie look. Hey, I look pretty good. Now, all that is left to do is to seal up the window using glass pane, we wouldn't want them getting out, place glow item frames in front of the top two corner parts of the top of the chamber, block of redstone in the item frames, oak signs. The one on the left, I'm simply just going to place a bunch of dashes below that. Warning in capital letters. Below that, a whole row of dashes. Perfect. And then for the next line to the right of it, bunch of dashes. Next line, just danger in capital letters. Bunch of dashes. That's absolutely perfect. And we will find that if we hit this lever, suddenly the light starts flickering and these zombies jump up literally out of nowhere to attack us. Perfect. Now, if you did want to enhance the build a little bit, I would recommend building a spooky mad scientist horror themed lab around it, but I'll leave that up to you. Now, moving on to a more medieval version of this jump scare. Here are all of the materials that you will need for this build. Please do make sure that you have access to all of these. Begin by placing a cyan terracotta on the ground. And right of it, 3 iron bars. 1, 2, 3. Then a cyan terracotta. We now have to extend the cyan terracotta backwards by 3 rows. 1, 2, 3. Extend across and join to the front of the build. We then, using our stone bricks, want to extend a row of 1, 2, 3, 4 bricks on top of the cyan terracotta, and we pretty much want to do this all the way around. This is going to be the height of the chamber. Perfect. So, for the next part, we have to figure out where our skeleton is going to be. So, my recommendation is just right in the back middle of the chamber. So, I'm going to dig 2 rows down in the ground, place a soul sand, and excavate behind it a little bit. So, we want to place a piston so that it is a sticky piston, specifically, 1 row away from the soul sand. What we can then do is just build up this back wall a little bit, place a cyan terracotta here, and some stone all the way around the soul sand. This is going to be for the floor of the chamber. Feel free to disperse some stone bricks in there as well a little bit if you like, and maybe some different blocks if you want to make it look a little bit better. Place a water on top of the soul sand, it should start to bubble, and that is perfect. Whilst we are in here, we are going to make the ceiling of the chamber a mixture of stone and stone bricks, kind of in any sort of pattern that you like. Just like that, that will be perfect. And we also want to place tripwire hooks. The positioning is 2 rows above the water block, so 1, 2, and then left and right. And then connecting down to these tripwire hooks, we want to place 2 chains. So we want these to look like shackles, which are of course chained to the ceiling, which is where the skeleton is going to jump up into. So we can seal up the majority of the front of our little cell here. So as long as we are actually able to get inside of it, in and out, that should be absolutely fine. I'd also recommend just digging underneath the actual front of the cell as well and placing some cyan terracotta in there just to contrast a little bit. With most of the structure of the cell complete, we can now work on the redstone component before we add those final details. So I'm going to begin by extending this wall on the left, using a cyan terracotta, and then on top of this, a chiseled stone brick. This is where the lever is going to sit, and then above this, a bunch of cobblestone wall, so it almost looks as though it's like wiring or something similar. So behind this, we are going to add an additional cyan terracotta here, just behind the initial cyan terracotta, and then we'll feed redstone dust from the chiseled block all the way back, and we have to excavate a little bit until we find the piston, and we can just run redstone dust in such a way that it connects all the way to the back of the piston. And then if we come around the front, activate the lever, that will push the piston forwards, latch onto the soul sand, push it back, and then it will be gone. The bubbling will stop. Perfect. We now come back to the side of the chamber, extend this cyan terracotta outwards that is attached to the redstone, extend the cyan terracotta up and back in such a way that we slowly start extending to the top of the back of the chamber, and we can just connect to the back corner here. We'll feed the redstone dust all the way up this little set of stairs that we have here. And we have to figure out where the lamp is going to go for the top of the chamber. So this is the flickering light effect. My personal choice is going to be right here, just above where the actual skeleton is going to be. So we'll place the lamp here. With the lamp placed, we can now start working on the mechanism. So this is going to be a comparator placed outwards from the redstone dust, redstone repeater in front, another one placed to the side of it, but facing the opposite way, redstone dust, connecting all 3 of these together, another bit of redstone dust in front of each one of the repeaters, and then we can just feed out some redstone dust onto the lamp. But first I want to activate it just to make sure that it is working correctly, and then we can just extend the dust outwards like this, and that will make the light flicker, simultaneously make that water bubble. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the redstone portion complete. So all we have to do from here is add a little bit of detail. Let's begin by placing an armor stand in the water with a skeleton skull on it, and we are going to outfit it with chainmail just because it kind of sort of looks like something a skeleton would wear. We are then going to place an additional skeleton skull in here, kind of just resting on this stone brick. We'll place an item frame with a bone in it, maybe even like a stone button in front of this, and if you're feeling a bit fancy, maybe we can even chunk out the floor a little bit with some andesite stairs. That's looking pretty good. So from here, all we have to do is just seal up the front of the cell, and if we hit this lever here, we have a nice flickering skeleton jump scare. That is pretty cool. Now, of course, if you do want to complete this effect a little bit, you may want to build your very own torture chamber to kind of go with your skeleton cell jump scare. But I'll leave that up to you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed these 2 little jump scares and you'll be able to implement them in your build some way, somehow. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Click that little bell next to the subscription button, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.